he's very good at what he does, and it's very sort of Mission Impossible, James Bond, whatever. He meets my character while she's on vacation after a bad breakup with her parents alone in Europe, which is just tragic and sad for her. And they meet and have instant chemistry and connection, and once they sort of fall in love on this trip in Europe, he decides to give up his career as a spy and an assassin and just live a normal life with this woman he's fallen in love with. Cut to 3 years later, suddenly all our friends or neighbors are trying to kill him, and I'm inadvertently in the mix because I was supposed to go on a business trip and didn't. And so now we're running and trying to save our lives and trying to figure out why everyone's trying to kill him. And my character learns that this man that she married and loves is not who she thought he was. Jen, my character is, I kind of love her because she's a little bit geeky, like a little bit nerdy. She's a computer science kind of techno gal, and she's a little bit tragic because I think she's been in a lot of really bad relationships, and the last guy she caught cheating on her with her friend, and they were, pretty serious. So her parents step in to bolster her spirits, and she's really close with her parents, and they do a lot of stuff together. So they go on this European trip where she's supposed to be recovering from this horrible thing that happened, but she ends up meeting the love of her life, and they meet and fall in love in Nice. Ashton, there's so many reasons why he's so great for this role, and my favorite is his comedy and his timing and how sort of genius he is at that. And but a lot of this character actually is not driven by that kind of comedy. So he's got this beautiful balance of the serious, I'm trying to protect myself, trying to protect my wife, trying to, murder people, but with some wit and charm. And he does it so beautifully, and it's really fun to watch and really hard not to screw up takes laughing and trying to be serious Jen when he's funny and witty. It's a challenge. My dad in the movie is played by Tom Selleck, which is kind of a little bit of a dream come true. I love him so much, and I've had like a little teen crush on him my whole life. So it was really interesting to meet him in person and shake his hand and get to know Tom as the person, not the legend. And he is, again, just another really sort of charming, funny, witty guy. My favorite so far scene with him was in France, where we're checking into the hotel we're at, which is a very posh, very sort of snooty hotel, and the concierge starts to speak to him in French, and he just really hardcore cuts him off. I do not speak French. And it was so hilarious, and I don't even know if Tom knew how hilarious it was, but every take I laughed. But again, that's the best part about doing these movies, is being surrounded by people who are so funny, and you just spend your whole day laughing and enjoying yourself. Robert Luketic is directing this film, and he's, Robert and I had such an amazing and great time doing The Ugly Truth, and had such a great connection, and we became not only a great team to work with each other, but also really good friends. And so to get to, spend my next summer with him was really such a blessing, and I am really grateful, because he's for so many reasons, he's really great for me to work with. He gets me, he gets, my style and how I do things, and he's super respectful of that. I get him and his style and try to be really respectful of that, and he's super fast, which I love. 2 takes and we're done kind of stuff. And again, I just spend so many afternoons and so many days just laughing with him and, enjoying each other. I think the audience will really enjoy this film because it's so interspersed, all this action, with the humor and with those funny beats and moments, and it's kind of an outrageous but yet slightly realistic look at marriage and what a marriage can go through, once it starts to settle into that 3-year, 5-year, 7-year itch.
Beginning of this film, my character is in Europe. He's sort of, wheeling and dealing the ladies, kind of living a very, very single, very private life. So all of his relationships are really superficial, except for probably with his boss, and he's getting ready to kill someone, and going through that sort of preparation process of killing someone when he meets the girl that's not going to allow him to just be superficial. It was about a guy with a complicated secret and his wife, who has these overbearing parents, and it was about their ability to coexist. And I thought that was an interesting tale to tell. And suddenly the script felt relatable, because you read something about an assassin or a guy that does this kind of thing for a living, and you can connect to it to some degree. But when you read it in the context of, okay, now here's a normal, grounded, everyday person, and this is a relationship movie about two people who are in love and one of them has a secret, everyone can relate to that. Katherine Heigl plays the character of Jen. I think that the one essence of Katherine Heigl that is essential to the character is Katherine has a childlike sense of innocence, personally. Like she has, it's this quality of surprise of the entire world, surprise and awe of the world that is around her. And I think that mixed with a slight sense of insecurity that she brings to the character, where the character's not 100% sure about her thing, but she's very smart and she knows what's going on. It makes a intoxicating mix. On screen, the idea of having someone that could potentially physically dominate you felt like a valuable essence to us. So we were thinking about like, all right, well, like who's a bigger guy who's got like an intimidating thing, but doesn't have to try to be intimidating. And we went through some names of people, and I was watching a thing on CNN, I think, and Tom was talking about. Tom Selleck was on, and he was talking about the work he was doing with the veterans. And I went, wait a second. This guy was like a Marine. He's like a pretty hard dude. Like, if he was my father-in-law, I would definitely have to like sort of step back and go, yes, sir. I love grappling. I was a wrestler when I was in high school, and I love that. I love mixing it up. And so the idea of doing that throughout the film. I also grew up around guns. Like I used to pull trap at a gun club, and so I was around guns my whole youth, and I've been shooting guns since I was 7 years old. So the idea of like being able to portray that in a film sounded like fun. He shot in Villefranche. And that was, I mean, it's when you see it in the film, it's pretty epic. Like you look at it and it feels like a different world, Like you see movies in the States, and whenever you see things in movies with cities, towns, places, and you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that. That's one feeling. When you see something, you're like, oh my God, like that's not part of my everyday life. It starts to feel exotic. We shot at the Eden Rock. We shot up and down the coast. Like it was just brilliant. I think the thing about this movie is that it offers a little bit of everything. I think it's action. I think it's exciting. I think it's a thriller, but I think it's also funny. And at the heart of it is a relationship. It's a relationship movie. So I think that there's sort of every array of the movies that I think people like to go see that exist in this film, and I think it'll also get your heart beating, and then maybe break it a little bit, and then put it back together.
I play a great name, Mr. Kornfeld. I kind of call him Mr. K. I don't think anybody calls him by his first name. Ashton's character calls him Sir. And I play Katherine Heigl's father in the movie, who is, it's an understatement to say he's overprotective. No man will ever be good enough for his daughter, including Spencer, who is played by Ashton Kutcher, especially Spencer. Robert Luketic is just a fine director. I know he said he really wanted to develop a piece with a lot of action. When we met early on, and he wanted me to do the movie, which was very flattering because I love his work, but he's well suited to this. He has. It is a very hard thing to do, this kind of comedy. And I think, look, if you have two people as popular and as likable and as talented as Ashton and Katherine, what happens and what movies are really about and what I grew up on is, gee, I'd like to see those two people together. And people will pay to see that, and I think they're going to, because to my knowledge, they haven't worked together before. But they're two people who have enormous followings, enormous fans, and to see them come together and bring their talents and mix their talents and see how it fits, that's what movies are about.
The beginning of Killers is this charming romance that takes place in the south of France, where two people fall madly in love to each other and perhaps have told little white lies about what it is that they really do. And but these people want to be together, and so they commit to leaving the lives that they know and starting a new life. And they move to Atlanta, and they get jobs in the suburbs, and they become essentially Mr. and Mrs. Citizen, living a normal life until Ashton Kutcher's character Spencer, until Spencer's past comes back and deals the relationship a blow. And that's kind of the interesting part about it. Like while we're on this adventure, we're also seeing, is this relationship going to last? Can it withstand? Can it withstand the lie? I think with Killers, we were amazed at just how engaging the love story was. And that was something that definitely grew more important, because you just want these two people to really be together. I believe two good actors, despite how they feel about each other, despite what their backgrounds are, despite anything like that, can make the chemistry. It is in the craft of the acting. And these two, Jennifer and Spence, Ashton Kutcher and Katherine Heigl, are really great actors, and have created chemistry from air. They have done it through performance. They've done it through the experiences they have. They've done it by being genuine and warm and open. As an audience member, I think you're going to be wildly entertained. You're going to have just a fun ride, and it's the kind of movie you go. I think it's one of the most perfect date movies we've seen in a long time, because the romance is thoroughly engaging and real and incredibly satisfying, and then we have this sort of action and intrigue that I think men will find, will relate to. There really is something for everybody in the film, and at the end of the day, I can say that when I've watched it, I felt entertained. I bought my ticket, and I felt like that was great money well spent, because I feel good walking out of the cinema.